Welcome back into Buccaneers Total Access. First half of the show, we had head coach Todd Bowles. Now, I'm so excited to be joined by offensive line coach Kevin Carberry. Coach, thanks for being with us.
Glad to be here.
And always great to have a coach in after a win. You
Yes.
get a good one to talk about, and a heck of a win in so many different ways. First of all, just what did this mean to the team, to your guys specifically, to get not only a win, but this kind of a win in overtime when the other overtimes had not gone how the team had wanted it to?
Yeah, it was an exciting win for sure, and it's like the old saying goes: you just need one more play, and each play is its own entity, and regardless of the circumstances. But it's a 60-minute game, a lot of plays, every play matters, and it just worked out the way it did. It was a pretty wild game, but it was exciting, and just certainly happy for the guys the way they played, especially when in those critical moments, you know, when they needed to be at their best was required. It showed.
Yeah, and it felt like especially a lot of situational football at the end of the game, a lot of things that I'm sure you guys think about and practice a lot, and took so much execution. I mean, especially thinking, man, you got 6 seconds left, you need a few more yards, and to get to call a timeout. There were just so many moments that were so big. How proud of your guys were you that in an away stadium to have those many crucial moments, situational football, and to keep their heads about them?
Right, just very proud of the mental toughness of the guys, and I mean, it was all 11, everybody on offense. But yeah, when it was hard, it was loud, challenging environment. Guys went out and executed, did it at a high level.
I know early, it took a little bit for the offense to get going to the level that you guys would have liked in the second half. So early on, what did it just feel like was a little bit more challenging out there?
Just, I would say just some self-inflicted wounds, across the board. We had some penalties, bad snap, the negative run that we'd like to have back. Yeah, it was just challenging, but it's pro football. That stuff happens.
Yeah.
You like to eliminate, be the best at the things that we can control. Sometimes unfortunate plays happen based on just playing against a good team in pro ball, but like I said, the guys responded the right way.
Yeah. What were some of the big either adjustments or changes or things that you saw that helped you guys get going a little bit more, especially in that fourth quarter?
It was more so just about us.
Yeah.
And focusing on us, focusing within, and executing at our best. Is the way I would say it. And so it wasn't necessarily, an adjustment or anything that came up. There were some things that, a couple different things that, that they do in every week that present themselves that, hey, you may not have practiced this or it may not have shown up on film, but you got to be able to adjust and go play.
Yeah, absolutely. Bucky's game, it was unbelievable. The stats, the numbers he was able to put up. First of all, what is it like for your guys to get to block for someone like him that is so electric? And then just what were you most proud of your guys for their contributions? That, of course, Bucky's always given you guys credit and talking about the offensive line being so crucial to his success. So what went really well blocking for him, and then how exciting is it for your guys to block for a guy that's that electric?
Yeah, Bucky certainly is electric, but he's also physical. He's very tough, and he's a fun guy to coach. He's a fun guy to be around. He's a great young player, and it's exciting when all 11 are contributing to the offense and receivers are blocking. They had some great blocks in the game yesterday. Tight ends did a great job yesterday. O-line, running backs hitting the holes at the right time. So it was exciting to see that come to life.
Yeah, I think if we were to pick one storyline even about this team from last year to this year, it is the run game that in recent years last in some of the yards per carry and things like that. I mean, what a dramatic turnaround into now this being such a strength of the team, and seeing that, man, when things aren't going well, all of a sudden fourth quarter is just feed that run game, and that's what every team, every offense, every coach wants. What do you feel? Obviously, you're intricately involved in all of the run game stuff. What do you feel like has just clicked this year? What's working so well, and why? That's a big swing to go for that much of an improvement in an area of any game.
Yeah. I would say this. Every year's a new year when you're implementing your run game, starting the offseason and the camp, and then finding your identity as the season goes along. And so, like I said, it takes all 11, and it takes, I would just say, hey, there's been just a great buy-in from all 11 in being dedicated to the run game, O-line coming off the ball and blocking the right way, hitting blocks the right way, and then just continuing to get better at, as the season goes on, get better at the fundamentals and techniques and the blocking that we want, and the runners hitting runs the right way. Everybody just being all on the same page and doing a good job. I would say it's a continuous process, and it's also a process over results. At times, sometimes like you said about Bucky or Rashad, that sometimes those guys have just made great runs. They might not have been blocked perfectly, but guys are playing fast, guys are playing with confidence, and they're doing a good job.
That's great. And I know also getting Tristan back probably just warms your heart as an offensive line coach, having one of the best out there to do it back out on the field. And just to see without him, I mean, I know Justin School's done a great job, but what does it mean when Tristan does come back? What does that bring to this line and the difference he can make in an individual game that we might not always see?
I would say that there's an element of, just like anything, just the caliber of player that he is.
Yeah.
And the caliber of teammate that he is. You have him out there and you feel like it's just like anything. You have a good player out there that you feel good about having out there. And
yeah.
You just feel it's really that simple.
Yeah.
And and to your point, to the other point of that is, I'm very proud of the way Justin School did in throughout this season in his time of coming off the bench playing right and playing left, the way he's gone in and competed and really done a good job, and I'm very proud of him, the way he's come in and come off the bench in those situations when it's been applicable. But your point about having Tristan out there, he's a special player, and he certainly gives us an edge.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the challenge of the right and left part of Justin School having to fill in on both the right and the left. We even talked about this when Tristan was having to move sides, and that, for some fans it just sounds like, oh, it's tackle either way or it's offensive line either way, but it is so much more complicated than that. So just what you've seen from Tristan's ability to switch sides and still be so elite, and then again for Justin to be able to play both sides in the same season, not knowing which one he'd necessarily be at before. Explain how impressive that is to be able to make those switches right to left.
Yeah, for Tristan to make the switch, it's been impressive. I remember watching him from afar when he was playing right at a very high level, and then from afar last year when he moved to left, and just being in the division, seeing the crossover film, and what an impressive player he was. But there's still a curve of switching your stance, switching sides, switching your hand use in pass protection is a big deal. And then for Justin, he got a lot of his reps in training camp at left with reps at right, and then having to go in at right in week 2 in that stretch of the season when Luke was out. He continued to get better throughout that stretch there, and then of getting all his reps on the right side, getting comfortable there, and then being the backup tackle, that's backup swing tackle, that's just part of the deal. Is just you got to find ways to get reps on both sides. We help facilitate that for him, but that's part of the job of the backup swing tackle is being comfortable playing on both sides.
We're talking to offensive line coach Kevin Carberry. I know that also the tight ends ended up playing a big role in the blocking game a few different times in this last game, and I just love to hear what the partnership has looked like and you guys as a unit, as an offensive line with them, and what you've seen in their contributions too. Yeah,
they've just done a good job, and when you can put 2 tight ends out there, there's certain looks you can get from the defense that you can activate certain runs and get those off, and all 3 of those guys, Payne, and Cade, have just done a good job, and it's just been exciting working in concert with them, and those guys have been really an extension of the offensive line in the run game.
And then similarly, the running backs, having to step up in pass pro, and that's always, one of the big deciding factors of how successful a running back can even be in this league is, and usually one of the big adjustments for them coming into the NFL from college is getting ready for that kind of thing. How have you watched, even the running backs, knowing our wide receivers are so willing to block, just what all that adds and how you guys work to all be in concert together?
Right, so the quarterbacks, running back, and the offensive line all have to be on the same page that relates to pass protection, and Bucky and Rashad and Tuck have done a really good job of just buying in and taking ownership of it in terms of pass protection, be it play passes or drop back protection or a third down. And even last night there were some good shots of play pass protection, some blitz pickups they had that were very, very helpful.
Yeah, and we've seen Kalijah got another sack. He and Vita now both have 6. Tell me just if you were thinking about having to go against these guys from an offensive line standpoint,
Sure.
How challenging would they be to game plan for, and how unique is it when you're getting that kind of push from the inside?
Very challenging, because you got a guy like Kalijah that's got twitch and juice and an ability to come off the rock that's unique, and then Vita is so strong and powerful, and also very athletic inside, it would certainly present a big challenge, keeping the inside of the pocket firm in pass protection.
Do you have maybe a couple favorite plays from this last game for your unit? Because I feel like especially for those of us watching the game, we don't always know either A, what offensive line is being asked to do, what they do well. We see the result of the play, but are there things that your line did in this last game that you were proud of their execution specifically?
Sometimes there's runs in the course of a game that might not get on SportsCenter, but the first run of the game was a 2 tight end run, and it was just a physical downhill 6-yard gain, and it was a good way to start the ball game with an efficient run. Guys were blocking, got some movement, and so sometimes those when the blocking combinations or the individual blocks are executed well, that's very exciting.
Yeah.
And when it's physical, like I said, it's not the run might not end up on the NFL Network, but an exciting run nonetheless because it's process over results, and so you say okay, well, hey, we got a 5 or 6 yard run here, but the combination was good. This can continue to be a good run for us throughout the ball game or throughout the course of the season. Let's continue to invest in it. And then I would certainly say the run in overtime was well executed. That was exciting.
That's awesome. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Buccaneers Total Access, brought to you by Advent Health. We'll be right back with more with offensive line coach Kevin Carberry. This is Buccaneers Radio. Welcome back into Buccaneers Total Access. We are joined by offensive line coach Kevin Carberry. I know we always hear about the importance of the chemistry of the offensive line. Where do you feel like that stands now at this point in the season? And then just what are the things that, as a coach, you kind of look to do to help facilitate that?
Well, it's a special group, and these guys all get along well. You can feel their close-knit,
Vibes.
Close-knit vibes, yeah. That's a great way of putting it. There's definitely some close-knit vibes. You can feel that in the meeting room. And for me, facilitating the chemistry that you want to get on the field is in the meeting room and asking guys the right question, asking them for feedback, asking them, hey, tell me through your lens, because you're the one you're playing. Mm-hmm. You got the helmet and shoulder pads on. How do you see this so that you can go out and execute and play fast? And then what's the best way to communicate it among all 5 guys, be it in the run game or the protection game?
And I'm sure also you mentioned earlier how, O-line, running back, quarterback, everybody's got to be on the same page. The chemistry Baker has with this O-line feels unique and important. I imagine that's
critical. That's great.
Yeah, it's how much do you see that impact the way that it looks on the field of knowing he's going to their dinners, he's going to their turkey time event, that they're all buddies, and I mean, heck, he even feels like he kind of plays like an offensive lineman occasionally, not afraid to put his head in there.
No, he's not. No, he you see that on film throughout the course of the year, like just with the juice that he plays with, the energy that he plays with, and I think guys feed off of that and they appreciate it, and certainly his personality is reflective of that in the way he plays. And then I just think the offense, everybody appreciates the way he plays on the offense, not just the offensive line, but I think his mentality, his spirit, his leadership are all evident in the way he plays, the way he leads the team, the way he gets along with everybody on and off the field. And I just think guys appreciate that. I know I certainly do.
Yeah, and how about his chemistry now with Graham Barton? Because bringing in a rookie center, that's a very unique challenge, and knowing how much they have to be on the same page. They're, doing all the protection calls, all that kind of thing. So, how have you seen he and Graham build a relationship, and where's their chemistry at this point?
I think it's pretty good. And it's certainly always ongoing and evolving. We're a training camp, we're a off-season program, training camp, and 12 games in, and it can always continue to evolve and get better and continue to reach a higher level and improve. And I think they always do a good job of talking in between the play, talking in the huddle, out of practice, talking in between periods about, hey, what occurred, what's going to come up next. And so just the constant flow of communication between those 2 guys and the other offensive linemen.
And I know in terms of making those protection calls, if the center isn't doing it, it's a lot of pressure on the quarterback. If, the center is able to do it, it takes a lot of pressure off, but also it's a rookie. You don't want to put too much on him. How have you guys handled the decision of when, how much for Graham to really be the guy making some of the calls and putting how much you put on his shoulders his rookie year?
It's been a lot. It's been a lot we put on his shoulders. In conjunction with the quarterback, I would say, as it relates to making calls in the run game or the pass game, they got to work together.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How have you seen Hainsey also be able to step in and kind of help Graham get ready in this process as a guy who also kind of got thrown into a center position when it hadn't been what he'd done before? How important has that leadership, mentorship been for your offensive line room?
It's been outstanding. Rob's the ultimate professional. He's been awesome, and we're very fortunate to have him.
I know that Luke also is a guy who you've got a lot of guys on your line that have had to change positions at different points
Right.
in their career and even their time here. Luke has been so interesting for all of us to watch these last few years of, again, coming in as a rookie and having to change and then go back. And it just feels like he's at such a great place from a confidence standpoint. Do you see that in meeting rooms and on the field as well, that he's finally kind of come into his own of like, this is my position, this is me, I feel good about this?
I think so, and he's been accused of confident guy from when I first got here,
Yeah.
which is what you want in the tackle position. You have to be able to play with confidence, and yeah, he certainly sees that. He's got a great personality about him, a great way about him, very workmanlike mentality, and just I think you see it in his play style and the way he plays, but he's definitely got the right mindset and mentality for the position.
What are his biggest strengths that kind of pertain specifically to the tackle position?
I would say, physically, just I think his athletic ability. He had some plays yesterday. He was either getting out in the screen game or just protection. His ability to redirect, his strength, his ability to anchor, and then his hand use, which is something every lineman in the league is continuing to work on and get better at and develop and sharpen those skills. And he's continuing to do so, and you've seen it develop going back to camp.
I imagine also with a guy like Tristan, who is so talented and successful, what are the things that you can still be working on with him? Because no one's ever perfect, no one's ever done evolving. So what are the ways that you can take someone like him who is so talented and still be working to improve with him?
I think with all these guys, it's just developing a toolbox that's unique to each player. And so I've been fortunate to be around some other tackles, and all of them are different. And each of them have a unique skill set, and be it a right tackle or a left tackle. And Tristan's unique in his own way in that he's a big man that's strong, he's got an anchor, and he's got unique ability. I think going back to his wrestling background in high school in Iowa, of understanding leverage, hand use, and some of those things. But I would say with all these linemen, especially with all tackles, is just developing a toolbox, so to speak, of different hand use, different tools to use against certain rushers. Because all these rushers that we go against each week they have their own toolbox that we have to combat and apply our tools to. And so each rusher is unique. If you just go back to, Jadeveon Clowney this past week, and then Burns and Thibodeau with the Giants week before, Bosa, all these guys present.
Boy, you haven't had to face anybody this year, have you?
So they all present, but it's like that every week, and they all present their own set of challenges they have to prepare for.
How about the idea of looking back at Graham coming out of college? What were the things you saw in him we've talked about some of these other guys having to move around. What are the things that you look at in a lineman that say, I think he can do this other position, that maybe he's only done it a little bit, maybe he's done it never? We've seen that with so many of these guys, that watching their college tape at one spot and saying, I think you in the NFL can be this other one. What are the things about Graham that you saw that made you say, yeah, I think this is a guy that can be a center and be good at it?
Starting with just the way he played, you could see his understanding of the game, his ability to bend. The physical traits were all there. His ability to run, his ability to bend, his ability to finish blocks, get removal at the point of attack, all the things that you look for. And I would just say that from what you saw in film at tackle, in conjunction with him playing center his freshman year in 2020 at Duke, you could just see it translate to the center position, or guard for that matter, however it shook out, but certainly the center position is one where this could be a spot for him. Yeah,
we're talking offensive line coach Kevin Carberry. What are the hardest things about playing center that we don't always appreciate, and especially maybe as a rookie?
Just the proximity of the defensive lineman right on top of you, and then you have to secure the football. The ball security starts with the center quarterback exchange, and it happens on every play. And so snapping the football to the quarterback properly, and then having to block the defender that's right on top of you. And then also sometimes you're on the silent count, on the road. I would say those are some of the things that often get overlooked in terms of you can't hear the quarterback, you have to use the silent cadence, and you have to execute at a high level, and then protect or run block against a good defender right on top of your grill.
Yeah, it sounds terrible to me. I feel like I heard recently Coach Bowles has really been bragging on Graham and Cody together, of saying that he's forgetting that they're year one and year two guys. What is it about Cody that you've seen that he's playing at? I know you weren't here last year, but to see the level that he's come to this year, the growth in him, and knowing especially that he was a bit of a more small school guy coming in that transition, just where he's been at this point this season.
He's continued to get better each week and continue to develop and just get better each week and apply the proper technique and fundamentals that are applicable in that game plan of, okay, this is the team we're going against, this is how we got to attack them, these are the types of fronts we're going to see or the type of player we're going against. And he just has a workmanlike attitude, and I'm just proud of the way he's continued to get better each week. And all these guys are very mentally tough. I'd just be saying, hey, Cody's a very mentally tough guy, but all these guys are, and they're all good pros, and certainly enjoy to coach. But Cody, like I said, for Cody in particular, he's gotten better each week, as have all these guys, and that's the goal. It's a long season. You got to continue to develop and get better, and so that you're hitting blocks the right way and playing well. Yeah,
and how about for he and Ben Bredesen, what are some of their biggest strengths at the guard position and what they're asked to do?
Yeah, they're both, I would say, first and foremost, they're both very tough guys, mentally and physically. And Breds is a little bit, I would say, thicker than Cody at this time, just different body types. They all have different body types. And so, but I would just say the biggest thing for those is they're both very mentally and physically tough. They're smart players, and they communicate well with the center and the tackles next to them. And just you mentioned earlier about the chemistry. I think there's good chemistry. For the guards, it's critical to have chemistry and communication that you're talking to the center and the tackle.
Yeah, that's a big deal. All right, we're going to take one more break here on Buccaneers Total Access. We are with offensive line coach Kevin Carberry, brought to you by Advent Health. This is Buccaneers Radio. Welcome back into Buccaneers Total Access. We're talking to offensive line coach Kevin Carberry. It's your first year here, and every time we have a first-year coach on, we love to hear a little bit about their background, decision to come in. So tell me what you liked about this job. What was really appealing to you about this group, this coaching staff, and everybody that made you want to come in here?
Well, just, I had a background with Coach Cohen, going back to LA, and when you can be with somebody that you have familiarity with, that's always a positive. And so there's not as steep of a learning curve coming in with somebody in terms of just the staff dynamic, and as the offensive line coach and the coordinator, being on the same page and talking the same language. You can get on the same page in that regard. And then it's also good to know that you're working with somebody that you trust and that you know their personality, you know what type of man and what type of coach they is, and that makes it easier. And then certainly from afar, going against the Bucs, what type of program this is. There's smart, tough, physical players here, and essentially that you're going into a good program.
Yeah. How about what it is about Liam's scheme that works really well for the offensive line? What do you guys like about coaching in it? What the players like about being in it, and just why he's been able to have such immediate success here?
I would just say that Liam does a great job of putting guys in position to be successful. Running backs, receivers, offensive line, and we're always conscious of that when we're game planning. And as it relates to the offense as a whole, it's something that we have a familiar background with, and it's something we both believe in. And then, like I said, ultimately it's about finding ways to put the guys in position to be successful.
You mentioned your stop in LA with him. In general, take us through kind of your coaching route of how you got to this point, because you're one of the people that I love that has the high school, the college, and the pro experience. You've done it. You've coached at all the levels, done all the things.
Right.
Tell me kind of how we got to this point.
Yeah, so I started coaching high school ball in Chicago in the off season of playing in the Arena Football League. It was just one of those things in my early 20s that I was doing, and I worked at a Catholic high school in Chicago and coached football there, coached everything, and enjoyed it. And then got my foot in the door in college football at the University of Kansas as a graduate assistant, and some stops there. And I was fortunate to get my foot in the door at the Dallas Cowboys on Jason Garrett's staff in 2014 as an offensive assistant. And then I was at the Washington Commanders at the time as the assistant O-line coach there with Bill Callahan, who was the O-line coach in Dallas. He brought me there, and he's certainly a mentor of mine. And then from there, was able to go to Stanford as the offensive line coach with Coach Shaw, and and then from there went to the Rams with Coach McVay, who I was with previously at the Redskins.
Yeah, that's so, I mean, amazing. It's so many different stops. And then here in the Arena League, you also played in NFL Europe, I believe?
Yeah, NFL Europe. Yeah, it was the training camp was actually right here in Tampa. The hotel we stayed at was right across the street from Jefferson High School.
No way.
It's no longer there. I believe it was, I want to say a DoubleTree maybe?
Yeah.
It was right by the Charlie's Steakhouse there.
Yeah.
Right across from Jefferson High School. And it was, we practiced at a soccer field somewhere. I don't remember. I know we did some scrimmages at University of Tampa, but all 6 of the NFL Europe teams did their training camp right here in Tampa.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So for you, the playing experience of doing, being around the NFL, being around the Arena and NFL Europe, and I mean, obviously college, so many different stops, and then so many different stops coaching too. How did all those different experiences kind of affect the type of coach you are? Are there things you've pulled from all these different experiences that have influenced you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody's a product of their past experiences, and you learn from, you take away all the good things, and you can learn from, okay, maybe I do some things differently here. And I've been fortunate to be around a lot of good coaches that I've learned from, and certainly learned a lot from all the coaches here, Coach Bowles and all the other coaches on our staff here as well. And it's not necessarily just specific to a position, but also, okay, how to approach a player about something, how to coach guys, what's the right demeanor to have with certain players, or whatever it may be. There's all kinds of things you learn from coaches on either side of the ball, you name it. But yeah, I've been fortunate to be around a lot of coaches and good coaches that I've taken a lot from.
We're talking offensive line coach Kevin Carberry, who are obviously all your Bucs players are the best guys you've ever coached outside of the Bucs. Who are some of the best guys you've got to coach, or just players that you're like, oh, like this is cool to watch this guy?
Yeah, there's a lot to mention. I was fortunate to be around a lot of good players. One of my the guys always give me a hard time about this. I talk about my first guy in the league. Jason Witten was playing for the Cowboys, and so he was one of the all-time great tight ends of all time, and a great professional. And I reference him to the O-line once in a while, and
Like,
they kind of see it coming. They've heard it once or twice, And I was, like I said, but it's a lot to mention. I would say, that my first year in Dallas, the Cowboys drafted Zach Martin in the first round. He was
not
cool.
too shabby.
It's cool to be around him as a rookie. He was a great player, and then went to Washington. Brandon Sheriff was there. That was his second year. He was a second-year guard. He was playing at a really high level, and Trent Williams was there. He's still going. He's still going, and so there's some good players. I was fortunate to be around. I enjoyed coaching. And then at Drew Dahlman at Stanford, who's playing, in Atlanta, I really enjoyed coaching him as well.
That's great. How about on the flip side, some of the hardest guys you've had to game plan for, that just them by themselves have the potential to be tough?
Also, a laundry list of guys there that you always have to think about, and it every week presents a different set of circumstances you got to prepare for each week. Probably have to say practicing against Aaron Donald was certainly a challenge. Dexter at the Giants last couple weeks ago, he was a challenging guy to go against. Special player, got a ton of respect for him. Bosa and San Fran went against quite a few times. He's a really special player and a challenge to go against as well. But like I said, each week presents a different set of challenges, and we'll have another one coming up this week with Max Crosby.
That was going to be my next question. That this is a guy that is just wild to watch.
Yeah.
Tell me what he's like to game plan for, how unique he is of a player to try to match up with.
Sure. I would say the biggest thing about Max is his physical conditioning level is off the charts. The guy doesn't stop. I mean, I don't know how many games he's played this year where he played every snap, which is rare for a defensive end. And just the energy with which he plays is off the charts. He's a unique guy. He's a very unique pass rusher. There's not many guys that have his skill set or his game like him. In some ways, he's like a knuckleball pitcher. You don't know where that pitch is going to fall. And so he's certainly going to present a challenge for us this week.
Do you sense your players get extra excited when there is someone like that they're going to go against, like somebody that is pretty known or, accepted to be really good around the league? Do you see it get them maybe a little extra fired up?
I think there's a certain challenge with it that guys get excited about, but like I said, there's challenges every week. And it just, in terms of the interior line we went against, starting with Washington with Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, Zach Allen in Denver, Lee McNeil in Detroit, Jalen in Philly. Those two defensive tackles in Philly were a challenge to go against, and it's every week. And like I said, each week presents a special challenge.
What about the rest of the Raiders' defensive front outside of him? What are the things that stand out to you about them and things you're going to have to look out for?
They play hard. They're a big physical group up front. Got a lot of respect for their linebacker Spillane and the other linebacker Diablo, and they play hard. They present a lot of different looks that we're going to have to prepare for, and it's going to be another week of a special challenge for us.
I know that for some of the different position groups or coaches, there are specific goals that you guys set for your group, whether it's per game or for the season. Do you guys have anything like that, or how do you sort of assess or set up the things that you want your group to be able to achieve?
I think for us, it's not necessarily a specific number or anything like that. You just want to put good film on tape, and you know what it looks like. And you can't certainly with running the ball and protecting the quarterback, there's numbers associated with yards per carry, sacks, pressures, hits, yards per game, whatever that may be. That's certainly a statistic, right? But to me, what's more important is process over results. Is that we're putting good stuff on tape. We're hitting our blocks the right way in the run game. We're protecting well. We're finishing plays. We're playing hard, and that when you put the good stuff on tape, it's recognizable. That's, to me, is what's the ultimate goal, is what's most important. That when other teams put our tape on, they say, hey, this is a physical group. These guys finish blocks. They protect well. They play together. They're on the same page. And so while that's hard, might not be able to quantify, you can see it when it's on tape.
Do you feel like you have someone on the line that you would say is the most improved so far this season, or maybe even just one thing the line has done well that has improved throughout the year?
I would just say fundamentally, I think the guys we've gotten better in terms of just how we come off the ball in a combination, how we play. I think our pass pro technique fundamentals have continued to improve. I wouldn't say one guy's improved over another. I think as a whole, I think guys have improved, and some weeks it hasn't been perfect. Some weeks it hasn't, been great. But I think over the course of the season, I think the guys have certainly worked very hard to continue to get better, and then continue to work on, like we mentioned earlier, communication at the line of scrimmage, in the media room, on the practice field. So that chemistry has continued to evolve and continue to develop, and just try to facilitate that and keep that going, because like I said, those are the guys, in between the lines, they got to communicate with one another and do a good job doing so.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it, and it was great to have you on here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for us on Buccaneers Total Access, brought to you by Advent Health. This is Buccaneers Radio.